from your perspective, what is our biggest fear? I know we had like an idea before, but I think I've switched it.
What do you mean biggest fear in
Like innately, what is our like what are we most afraid of?
innately?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What did we say
I just want to see
before?
what you think.
What did we say before?
Like death.
Okay. Yeah,
Would you still hold that?
sure.
Like death is our biggest fear, right? Because it's a great unknown. We don't know where we're going, stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's what I thought too. So I am not afraid of dying. Me, like I'm afraid of no, wait. I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of dying because it's gonna hurt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or it depends on how you go. If you go in your sleep, that's a wonderful way to go.
Yeah.
But like a lot of warriors are like, I want to die on the battlefield. That's an honorable death, stuff like that, right? But I actually think that's not our biggest fear, or at least is not. All right. I'm gonna argue to say that I don't think it's our biggest fear. I was gonna say maybe it's not my biggest fear, but just go with me on this one,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So, I think that if I like wrote this as notes in my phone, when Athena passes away, I might stop smoking weed for a long time. The reason why is because I was like under the influence, and then Tara said something just like offhand. She was like, "Oh, it'll be sad when she's gone," and I'm like she. Oh man, it's gonna like make me so sad again thinking about it. But it's like there'll be one time when you have to put her down, and it'll be like the last time you're gonna like watch her breathe or like hold her or something like that, right? And I was like spiraling. It's so funny because Tara was like, she was not affected by it at all. She was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go do this thing now." But then like my
Sure.
mind was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
And
you're
then
in a
like
loop. You're in a loop. Yeah.
loop, and that's why I was like, I think I gotta stop it when like she passed away. Because like as the night progressed, like I went through like the craziest darkest hole, and I was like, like Tara was like doing something else. And I was like just in this loop of like, oh my God, that's so true. And then I started imagining it. I'm like, oh. And then I was like, what is this feeling? And it's like, oh, it's not death. It's being alone.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Or it's
Yeah, yeah,
trippy,
yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah. I've heard that. Yeah.
Right. Check this out. So I was like, I wonder if like doing ayahuasca or like something like a spiritual journey will make you overcome this fear of being alone. Cause I think it's not death. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I was like telling Tara, I was like, oh my God, I'm spiraling. And then she was like, oh, what? I'm sorry. I didn't realize like I had done that to you. Right. And then she was like trying to tell me like, well, it's a natural part of life, whatever, whatever. And then I started thinking about like people who have people that they've lost, and they'll go to the graveyard all this because we live next to the graveyard, and like Athena's favorite place to walk is like the graveyard, and you're just like, oh man, these people are just like comforting themselves or like trying to find community or like not trying to feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, oh, that's what we're afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
It's not death. Like,
Sure.
because when you're dead, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
you're not, who cares, bro? Like, you're not gonna feel anymore. My dad said that. Like, I was like, well, what happens if I like sell the thing
Mm.
you're making in Baraka? He's like, I don't care, I'm dead. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, you're dead. It won't matter. But like, it's the people that we leave behind,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. That
there,
makes sense.
right?
Yeah.
And then I started to feel really bad. I was like, oh my God, I gotta stay healthy for you guys. Cause like, if I'm gone, I'm gonna put that on you, bro. Right? It's like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, but it's not your burden. That's the other thing.
Oh, no. So we're sober, right? So
Sure.
in this moment, as I was getting sober throughout the night, I was like, oh, it's going away. It was like leaving me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I was like, I can think clearly again. I'm not in a loop,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then Tara's like, because I was like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. I went where you went. I was like, yeah, it's like it's just a part of life, whatever, right? And then she was like, no, it's okay to feel those feelings though. And I'm like, yeah,
Oh
but I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
feel them.
Right.
No, but I don't feel them in a sober state.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, I can think about it the entire time, like, all right, whatever. But like, there's something about And this is why I think it's our deepest fear, because it's like psychedelics are mind manifesting, right? So, and weed's a psychedelic. So like when you're when you're in it, it's like the deep secret is there coming out and you can't stop it. And you're like, oh, that's what it is. That's why you have like a lot of enlightening moments, right?
Sure.
And like, is that our biggest fear? Like truly, are we just like afraid of being alone? Even when you're dying, it's like you don't want to
No,
die alone.
I think it
You know what I
makes
mean?
sense. No, I think you're right. I've heard that before. Um, yeah, death is the, I don't say catalyst, but like something like that. But that's the main thing. Yeah, you see it
Right?
all the time. Yeah. There's a lot of movies that talk about that. I remember, I think it was Auto. That was about that.
Oh,
Uh,
Otto, what's Otto? The
there's a
robot?
no. There was a movie with Tom Hanks, and he like you don't know what was happening in his life, but he was alone because his wife
Oh, yeah,
passed
yeah,
away
okay.
and that kind of stuff. So it's just like, but it was other people, the neighbors that were trying to saw that and trying to include him in their life so that he's not
Yes.
alone. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah. All right, so totally. So it's so funny. Like I was in that state, and then like this was like 2 days ago or something, and then like yesterday I was coming out of it, so I was like, but it was still there. I was like, oh, I gotta
Mm-hmm.
shake it off me, right? Like, because it's like so sad to think about. And then out of the blue, this like old client of mine, they're like, hey, can you come to this party, blah blah, on November 13th, whatever. They're never gonna listen to this podcast, so like they won't know that I lied to them. So I was like, oh, I didn't realize that was that day. I can't make it for this reason. I could have made it, but I'm like, it's like I'm not gonna mission all the way there, bro. Like, I haven't seen you in forever. But I was like, if this was the day before, I would have been like, yes, because I'm alone. And I'm like, oh, that's what it is. People gravitate towards like community when they're alone. And I think that's why like church is so important,
Mm-hmm.
like groups and stuff. Like, um,
Yeah.
I've heard this where like certain old people are like, I'm ready to die. And they're like, "Oh, why? Why are you ready to die? You still live." And like everybody I cared about is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you think about it, you're like, "Oh, that's so negative." Like, but we're here. It's like, right. But I just got to know you, bro. Like everyone I really like loved, cared about is gone. And then now I'm like, I get it, bro. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'd want to pass too, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, imagine if everyone you knew. And then I started like think to Tara. I was like, oh, is this why like I was like, should we just like have not obviously no, we're not gonna do it. But I was like, is this the reason why people have children? Because then it's like, but you're not, but then you're not alone. Because then it's like something's there,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then she was like that's one, a selfish reason to have it, and two, it's also no guarantee. Because you know so many people who like hate their parents and
Mm-hmm.
like right? So you're like, okay, well, there's that. But then I was thinking like, what's the only thing that actually lives forever? It's a company, like an incorporation.
Mm-hmm.
You can start a company and then that will be your legacy that lives on forever. And maybe that's like,
I don't know. I don't think
uh,
even I don't think even that.
oh, really? Okay. No, but then people are like, I'm not alone because all these people are like helping me survive. Like, even if I die, at
No,
least my ideas. No, you don't think so?
you can still feel alone without having a connection, right? Like if you're not having genuine human connection, then you're still alone.
Yes. No, I agree. So yesterday, I was still in a funk and I was like, all right, whatever, I'm just gonna go climbing because like I just like climbing, right? So like I messaged my cousins, I'm like, hey, I'm going to the boulder park. Does anybody want to go? And then like Arvel and Caitlin were like, oh yeah, we're down. So like I was like, all right, cool. And then like I climbed with them, like hung out with them. Then I went to my parents' house. And then I was like, oh, this is the cure. I automatically felt better. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's family. It's genuine connection.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's connection where it's like the reason why I say family is like how do I explain this? It's like there's there's friendships,
Yeah. It's
but
family. It's family in the sense like if
wait, do you know what I'm
once you,
trying
yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it's also like each person have a different level of what. But if you consider them as family, even if they're not blood related, that's
That's right. Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
that's what
Right.
we're saying. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like when I was like friendships, but it's like not really friendships though. Like you and I are friends, but I honestly consider you like family. Like I've known you my entire life, bro. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And like, if I hung out with you in person, it would feel the same. I would be like, oh, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it is. It's like you need, like Filipinos are really big on family, and you're like, why? But it's because they come from so much poverty. So they
Mm-hmm.
need to rely on family. But in doing that, like so much negativity, you find the solution for it. And that's why they're like so, I don't know, like family oriented. Like, I don't know about your culture, but I'm just speaking from my own. But like, okay, somebody could do something really bad. Okay. You're like, oh my God, that guy's terrible, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, the logical thing, like, Tara would be like, just cut them out. And you're like, but they're family.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they ever want to come back, it's like prodigal son. You're like, yeah, come here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's it? Fast and Furious.
Right.
Dom, remember, he's like, just pull up a plate. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Right.
It's just kind of like that. And you're just like, that's why like Filipino families can get like really messy because you're just like, you'll always accept them back, but it's like they'll have problems. They're like, bro, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, but in feeling that, it's like, oh, is this because we're afraid of being alone? Because when you're alone, you can't survive in the Philippines, especially. You're just poor, bro. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, it's a weird cure, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But I do believe that there's a point where even if, like, let's say everyone dies and then they're like, oh, like, just come hang out with us, whatever, whatever. But it's a superficial. It's like you're doing that because you're sad that you're seeing me, like in the auto thing. It's like, oh, let's include him in their life. It's like you're only doing this because I'm alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sweet, but at the same time, it's like if I wasn't alone, we wouldn't be doing this, and that feels fake to me. I'd rather it be like genuine, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, hey, I'm going climbing. Then my cousin's like, hey, I'm climbing too. It's like, all right, that's a genuine, like, we just both like doing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like forced. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, oh, you're alone, so I'm gonna
Yeah, yeah,
join
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like, is there a different solution to this? Is there like, I don't know,
No, I think as a collective species, I think that makes sense.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that makes sense. Yeah.
But we're so backwards in the West where it's like, put them in an old folks' home. Don't ever think about them again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just different. That's I would say like, you know, there's different ideals, different things, but it doesn't always work, right? In the West, you may think it's like that, but there's some people that don't believe in that kind of thing, right? It just depends on how they grew up or what their connection was towards their family and things like that. That's where it comes from too, right?
Okay, interesting. And that's why it's no guarantee. Because where it's like, oh, should we just have kids? It's like just to like stave off this future fear.
But then
You know?
again, yeah, exactly. So right there, when you're saying in that, if that's the decision to make, then you've started off on a wrong basis point.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it becomes compounded because then in the future they're like they could feel it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
these are like
they're
subconscious kind of feeling that you do get when you're around certain people. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.